everyone, welcome to Cardboard Vault. I'm Phoebe Wild and today I'll be reviewing Tiny Epic Western by Gamelyn Games. Now this is the latest game in the Tiny Epic series and it's currently on Kickstarter. So what I have here is a prototype copy so I can show you some of the components and tell you what I think of it. Tiny Epic Western is at its heart a worker placement game for 2 to 4 players. So each player will control a unique character and a posse who they can send out to different locations to gain resources, purchase buildings, and ultimately to gain points. However, it wouldn't be a Western without a bit of gunslinging and a bit of gambling. So you have to watch out for other people trying to duel you for your positions on the board, and also think about what people might be holding in their poker hand, because whoever has the best poker hand at each location will win the pot. So let's have a closer look at how it plays and I'll tell you what I think. Tiny Epic Western is played over 6 rounds, and each player is trying to earn the most points by purchasing buildings and earning majorities in the different stocks that are available. Each round, the town will be set up like this, with cards randomly dealt out between each of the different locations, and each player will also receive 2 poker cards from the deck. Now this is a modified deck of poker cards, so numbers 1 to 5 in 4 different suits, and players will choose one of the 2 cards to keep as their hand for the rest of that round. Now the poker card they choose is important for a number of reasons that you'll see in a moment, but in a nutshell they'll help you win the jackpot of resources available at each location, and they'll also help you influence the value of the different stocks at the town hall and give you priority when choosing what to build. Once everyone's selected a poker card, there are 2 main phases in each round. First, players will send out their posse members to the different locations on the town, and then they'll get the opportunity to purchase buildings. In the placement phase, players will be able to send out their posse members to different locations within the town, earning resources and extra abilities. Players will place their meeples one at a time, earning any instant benefits as they go. You can see on the 2 locations shown here that there are a number of different spaces on each location where you can place your meeple, and also a pot that can be won at each location. Spaces like this one provide an instant resource benefit. These 2 at the sheriff's office allow you to manipulate the poker card that you're holding, either changing the suit up or down 1, or the number up or down 1. As the game goes on, buildings will be placed in these spots that players are able to use for the cost of 1 gold coin. Spaces like this one, however, require you to gamble that you'll win the pot at the end of the round, so it's an all or nothing placement. To win the pot, you have to have the best hand at that location, so either the best hand compared to another player who's there, or against an NPC dummy player who's competing against you. This requires knowing the strength of your hand and being able to guess what your opponents might or might not be holding. However, just because you place on a space first doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get the benefits of it, because players are able to duel each other in order to steal the spot from another player. For example, if red decided that they wanted this resource, they could challenge yellow, which would involve rolling a dice and spending a resource to initiate the duel. Red rolled a 4, then yellow would have an opportunity to counter by spending a resource to roll a dice, and also optionally revealing and adding the value of their poker hand. This could mean you're very strong in the duel, but it also shows other players what you're holding and might weaken your position in other areas of the town. The duel goes back and forth until one player is unable to beat the other, with the victor gaining the benefits of that space. Once everyone's finished placing their meeples, they reveal their poker cards, and we look at who wins the pot at each of the different locations, moving from the town hall and around. So if we look at the hideout, Green will reveal his card, which is a 3 of horseshoes, and because he's alone at the location, he will compete against the bandit whose card is here. So we flip that one up, and they have a 4 of hats. Now, a 1, 4 and a 5 doesn't make anything, but a 1, 3 and a 5 of horseshoes makes a straight flush. So Green beats the bandit and wins the pot at this location. If you're not super familiar with poker hands, the Town Hall has a summary of the order of ranking. So there's a straight flush, then three of a kind, then straight, flush, pair, and high card. So in this case, green would win the bonus 2 bullets. If we look over here, green and red will be competing against each other, so they don't need to look at the bandit card. So green again has the 3 of horseshoes, and red has the 3 of cow's heads. So red has a straight, but green has a straight flush, so he would win the pot of 2 resources of his choice. Once all the pots have been won, the players move on to the purchasing phase. In the purchasing phase, whichever player has the best hand at the town hall gets to choose which building they'd like to buy first, and also influences the stock market by moving one of these 3 markers forward on the track. In this example, the best that any player has is the pair of 5s that's at the town hall, so the winner comes down to the high card. Between green and red, who both have 3s, green wins because, as the town hall shows, the horseshoe suit is stronger than the bull's head suit. So in this case, green would be able to purchase first and influence the stock market, red could purchase second, and yellow would purchase last. The stock market is important because, as you can see, each building has a fixed number of points that it's worth, but also has shares of each of the different colours. So for example, this building is worth 2 points, as well as 2 shares in orange. When the markers are moved forward in the town hall, they'll first move on to this space, and the second movement will push them onto one of the ranking spaces. So if orange was moved forward twice in the first 2 rounds, it would end up on the first place position, meaning that it's worth more points to have a majority in that at the end of the game than any of the other colours. So it's helpful for players to try and win the town hall, because not only do they get their first pick of buildings, but they also get to influence the stock that they have the most of and that they want to be the most valuable at the end of the game. When you get a chance to buy a building from the town, you can buy from any of the locations where you placed at least 1 meeple that round. Because red placed their meeple at the saloon, they would be allowed to purchase the Grand Hotel for a cost of 2 gold, 1 bullet, and 2 lore. They'd spend that on their player board and would then take the building and place it in the building spot of the location of their colour. So because the saloon is the red location, they'd build up their purchase things here. That is now available for people to place on in later turns. So any player would be able to place their meeple there, spend a gold to use the ability of the location, and then carry out whatever it says. As the game goes on, you'll purchase more buildings and build them over each other like this. So you keep the points and the stock shares of all of the buildings that you've purchased, but the abilities that are available to all of the players to use will rotate. Once everyone's had the chance to purchase a building, you just set up for the next round by discarding all of the poker cards currently in play and shuffling them again, and filling any empty building spaces in the centre with new cards from the deck. The game ends once all 3 of the stock markers have been placed in the ranking positions. And at the end of that round, players will add up the points on the different buildings that they own, as well as the points for first and second place in purple, orange, and green stocks. So I'm going to start off by saying that I'll definitely be backing Tiny Epic Western on Kickstarter, because there's so many great things about it. First of all, just the art. Like, it's beautiful, it's detailed, it's thematic, and I really couldn't ask anything more from a game. And this is only a prototype copy, so I'm really excited to see what they do with the final version. Even just the character cards, the detail on the bottom of the resource counter showing the bullets in the little pouches, just that kind of attention to details really makes the game pop visually. I also love how the theme of Tiny Epic Western is truly integrated into its mechanics. So, you start out with a classic worker placement game, you add in poker and dueling, and suddenly, even though it's strategic at its heart, you have bluffing and risk-taking and gambling and player-on-player conflict, and it really livens up the game and makes you feel like you're gunslinging characters trying to gain the most influence over an old Wild West town. And it's a really great part of the game. Because normally I'm fairly conflict averse in games. I don't like, dueling or attacking other players. But it feels like the balance in Tiny Epic Western is perfect. Because you don't want to be dueling players all the time. It costs you resources. It's risky. But sometimes you just have to do it strategically. And I really love that about the game. And the other thing strategy-wise is I'm really impressed by how much game they've packed into this, because it's surprisingly strategic, every move you make, because, from choosing which of the 2 poker cards you want to keep to where you place your, posse members in the town, there's a lot of things to factor in. Like when you choose a poker card, do you choose the card that's best for one particular location? Or do you hedge your bets and try and win multiple pots, but it's a bit riskier? Or do you choose the card that's best for the town hall so you can influence the stock market? And when you're placing your workers, do you try and win the pots? Or do you place where you want to buy buildings? There's just a lot of different things that you have to consider when you're making a move. And I think that's really cleverly done. It's not a complicated game to learn, but there's a lot of interesting things to think about it while you're playing and to pick up as you go along. There are a couple of things I don't like about the game, but I'll put an asterisk next to these comments just because I know that the game is still in development, so these might well be fixed by the time the final version comes out. But one of them is that sometimes, depending on the number of players, especially with 2, it doesn't feel like there's as much competition for spaces, which greatly reduces how much you want to duel each other and reduces the Western feel and kind of the fun of the game. Even though when you have less players, you also have less spaces available because you'll flip over their location, so there's one less space. It still feels not quite balanced, and it's not quite a small enough town to really get that Western feel going. The other complaint is that some of the player abilities really seem like they're more powerful than others. So I haven't really talked about these much, but you all have a unique character when you play the game, and they'll give you an ability that you can use during it. For example, the Gambler, which I'll just find here, lets you draw 3 poker cards at the start of the round instead of 2, and pick one of those 3. There's one that lets you pay a gold to get your 3rd posse member, so you have 3 guys to place the next round. And there's another one that lets you use 1 building that round for free, instead of paying a gold for every building you use. But there's some of them that definitely feel less powerful, like a character that lets you move one of your posse members when you place the 3rd one. So I guess you can manipulate your position on the board a little bit, but it's definitely less powerful than getting a choice of 3 poker cards in the games I've played. Having said that, I'm a huge fan of Tiny Epic Western. I'm always impressed by how much Gamelyn Games and Scott Almes manages to pack into these, these tiny little games. But Tiny Epic Western is, in my opinion, the best one yet. They've done an absolutely amazing job of putting a unique twist on the classic worker placement game, and the gambling and the poker just adds a lot of fun and theme and engagement, but also a lot of interesting new decisions to make, because it brings into it the bluffing, calculating risks and what other players might have. And that just makes it really fun. And even though the game's very simple at its core and can easily be taught to non-gamers or casual gamers, it's still got a lot of strategy and interesting decisions to make in it. So I'm definitely going to be backing it. I'm a huge fan, and if you like this review, go check it out on Kickstarter. It's up there for another 22 days or so, I believe, by the time this review will be up. So definitely go have a look, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching Cardboard Vault, and I'll see you next time.